Hello, welcome. Brand new episode of Gadget Nation and me, Adam Carruthers. And you know what? Right here, look at this bad boy. I'll be showcasing this to you. It looks like a car. It looks like a Lamborghini, but it's also a laptop, plus a very compact camera. That's all in store for you. And we've got Avery pretending to be the Dark Knight. Hang on, let's get the show started.
Hello guys, here I am at Pangpo Island thanks to Nikon. This time around, all media get to have our hands-on experience with the Nikon One System camera.
You know, one of my dreams has always been to have a Lamborghini. Well, I can't really get one, but I do have this. Imagine this is a car. Okay, I can't really imagine that. Let's find out a little bit more about this in First Look. Firstly, I'll show you exactly how it looks like a Lamborghini. For example, look at that. Look at that. Does that look familiar? The color itself stands out. This will stand out no matter where you use it, if not the sheer size and the design. I mean, look there. You recognize that? Looks just like a Lamborghini from behind. You've got the lights here, the exhaust duct here, and it is a tank, but it's also incredibly heavy. I cannot imagine lugging this around. So when I open it back up, it's not only the exterior that looks like a Lamborghini, it's also the interior, just like a car. For example, as you can see right there, we've got the stylized automobile Lamborghini above the keyboard. Whoops, careful. The start here, it actually says start engine, just like the car itself, you know, keyless entry and so forth. And here, this is leather. All right, as I hold it up. So it's all very, very much in tune with Lamborghini cars and the beauty behind it. As I put this back down, once again though, the weight really, really is an issue, but you know what? A Lamborghini isn't light and it's certainly a no-frills car, and this seems to be a no-frills laptop in terms of design. This, underneath the hood, just like a Lamborghini, however, is a monster. It's not just the exterior, which looks nice, it's also the interior. Now, obviously, it's a very, very powerful device. Given the size, it should be, right? It's really for gamers, like really high-end gamers. For example, we've got a Intel Core i7 running this, 2.0 gigahertz. It's got 16 GB of RAM. That's a lot of RAM for your gaming needs. It's got turbo boost as well. The graphics are alright. It's NVIDIA GTX 460M. Now the screen itself, you're talking about 15.6 inches or so, and it's full HD in case you're wondering as well. Also 1.5 terabytes of hard disk space, and obviously it's running USB 3.0 and also USB 2.0. Blu-ray combo drive as well, in case you were wondering. Now this is such a monster. I mean, even the keyboard layout itself is really meant for gamers. For example, if I just show it to you right now, you can just see exactly what I'm talking about once I pick it up. You see that? The whole layout of the keyboard? Really for gaming. I was kind of getting used to typing on it because it's obviously got more buttons than you're used to with the numerical pad here and so forth. So overall, what do I think about it? Well, for one, it is Asus's most ambitious project in my opinion because it's their most powerful laptop ever. However, when you got all those bells and whistles inside this, it takes up a lot of power, and I mean a lot. The battery will not last long at all, which is why it's still plugged in as I'm talking, just in case it dies on me. On top of that, the design, yes, it's very nice, but it's also very susceptible to fingerprints. This glossy finish here, and well, it's also huge, and it is really heavy. It's one of the heaviest laptops. I think, you know what? It is the heaviest laptop that we have seen on the show over the past year. Cannot imagine lugging this around, and combine that with the fact that battery power is not the greatest. It's very hard to justify that. Plus, the price tag is quite high, but hey, you're paying for the price of that, aren't you? Lamborghini. Compared to other alternatives on the market, that is, obviously, it's still a very powerful laptop and you pay for what you get. All in all, I think it's really ambitious, it's really powerful, but you have to see what your needs are, and this could actually prove useful. And if you're a Lamborghini fan, well, this will obviously look very nice in your collection. You know, I know a lot of people that just love to take pictures of themselves, but it can be a little bit difficult. You can never quite see how it's looking if you're taking the picture yourself, right? However, how about something like this? And it's touchscreen. This little offering is affordable and compact, and it's from Samsung. Let's find out a little bit more about it in Gadget Scope. You know, certain devices, I find they add little novelty features, things you don't really need, if you know what I mean. For example, I'm not convinced about 3D on televisions, and I'm not convinced about 3D on phones. In fact, I prefer 3D on televisions over phones, let's put it that way. However, sometimes a product comes out and it gives you something you realize, hey, you know what? That could actually prove really useful. For example, who would think that we would need tablets? Now, if you own a tablet, you probably can't live without it. And that's just one of many things out there which you find are great and they work really well. So something from Samsung here is a camera which A, could be a novelty, or B, could be something that could prove really useful. I don't think it's going to change the industry, but you know what? It's also very nifty. Firstly, the basics. It's 16.1 megapixels now. I say this over and over again. I don't really care about megapixels because I'm not printing out a billboard. I just want to be able to take pictures and put it on Facebook or on Twitter or anything like that. And you know what? This camera is absolutely perfect for that because it's a really fun camera. The other basics about it, 5 times optical zoom and so forth, but like I mentioned, the MV800 from Samsung's biggest selling point is this right here. The way that flips out, you see? There you go. Now, it's not just a screen where you can actually see what's happening. Let me demonstrate. You can actually touch it. Yeah, it's a 3-inch touchscreen as well to show exactly what's happening. For example, that is the camera pointed at me. And then you can snap away, you can add your filters here and so forth. You can access the menu and everything. It's pretty nifty. In case you're wondering, there's also a little snapshot button at the back. So when you're taking, just go like that, snap away. Pretty cool if you ask me. Now, That is just one of the things I like about this. The other thing is, like I mentioned earlier on, it's great for Facebook because it's a fun camera to use. Let me explain. So most of us out there, we're not really professional photographers and we don't want to carry a big, huge camera around, right? But also, you don't want to use Photoshop. Like, I suck. I'm really bad at Photoshop. I'm absolutely terrible. Whereas a camera like this, and we've seen it with the Olympus Pen and so forth, have really cool filters. And this is no different. There are a lot of filters here, like cartoon painting, amongst all sorts of different filters. I'm a big, big fan of that. Also, there's other really cool things they put in. For example, you have the 3D pictures here, live panoramic pictures, and there's something whereby you could take a picture, and say you take a picture of a magazine, you can actually superimpose your face onto that picture. Or maybe the pose guide, whereby there's a template of a pose and you get your friends to follow that pose template and you slot yourself in. I'm not sure how useful that's gonna be, but certainly the fact that they've done it is a cool, nifty little feature. And it's just one of a huge variety available on the MV800. Overall, what do I think about this? Well, if you're a professional photographer, you're probably gonna scoff at it and say that's not for me. But at the end of the day, this is retailing for 999 ringgit. You get a lot of things with it, but they're not overly complicated. I mean, just take a look. How many buttons are there? Yeah, okay, there's a power button there, there's a zoom button there. There's two buttons here, home and menu, and there's a snapshot button at the back. That's it. It's really not that complicated. Touchscreen works well. This is great for when you're going out with friends, you come to a place like this. And I haven't even mentioned that much about the size, but for comparison, this is a new BlackBerry Bold, yeah? It's tiny, it's compact, and it fits nicely into your pocket. In fact, I didn't even realize I had it in my pocket. Even when you open it up, I mean, look at that. It's really, really small and compact, as you can see, and thin. It's just for comparison's sake here with the BlackBerry, yeah? Just to let you know. I'm a fan of this. I think the price is great. It's fun. It's a real Facebook camera because you can just upload the snap straight away onto Facebook, let all your friends see what kind of creative pictures you've taken with all the filters and so forth. This gets a solid 4 out of 5 from me. Very nice and cheap. Recently, Malaysia was graced by the presence of some of the best minds from America in the Silicon Valley Comes to Malaysia Symposium. So we got to speak to quite a few people, and to really get it started, how about this? One of the founders of LinkedIn, this week's Into Tech.
I think fundamentally it's because we're solving a problem, and that's what caused us to start the company in the first place. We would see, in business, we all had, a good number of years without straight out of college. We all worked 10, 15 years. There's 5 of us who started the company, and we just saw that the way people get clients or they access information or they hire people, it was usually not that they were hiring their friends and it wasn't a total stranger. It was usually someone in their network, meaning one of their contacts knew somebody who would be perfect for this job or would have a certain type of information. But it was no real tools to effectively get at that. So you always just, like I had a consulting business for a while, and the way I got my clients was usually I'd have lunch with an old client and they happened to have lunch with someone else the same week, and because we just happened to have lunch, he remembered me and would match us up. So it was always in that second degree, what we call it, but it was not a good tool to proactively, systematically do it because you know who your contacts are, but you don't know who they know. Yet that's where all the value is. So, some people are on LinkedIn, they don't realize that full value of LinkedIn. They just have kind of a mini profile, they just respond to things. But our more active users who are the ones who are inviting others, they usually understand that value. I think it's, people seeing problems and solving them and having the drive to solve them and the smarts to do it are the same all over the world. I really don't see a difference there. I think what's different, I mentor a lot of engineering students at Stanford because I was a student there and now it's kind of my chance to give back. There is, they just have it, they know personally people who've done it before. So it's sort of an easier way to get inspired, and they get lots of advice from people who've done it before. And because they know people that maybe know investors, and investors have had success. So everything is just a lot easier. But fundamentally, I think the process that you go through is the same. Now, one thing I think that is important that people sometimes overlook is that Silicon Valley is a very diverse country. So, I have 2 daughters and they go to school with people from, who speak very different languages from all over the world. And that's really helpful when you're creating a service that is worldwide successful. Because if you create it and you live in more of a monoculture, then it may work in your country, but it may not work in the others. So I think the diversity, because it also brings up different ideas, is quite important for the success of Silicon Valley. Yes, it is a little easier in Silicon Valley where you have the people right near you. But I think everybody has a network of people. Now, we're very young, it's more challenging because you haven't worked. But a network really doesn't come from networking. Some people think the way you build a network is you go to events and you exchange business cards. But those are not the people who know you well enough to introduce you to an investor because they've just barely met you. The kinds of people who might do it would be maybe a college roommate, that you shared a place with for a year or two. May not know your business idea, but they may be convinced that you are the right type of person for it. And if maybe they know somebody whose father, has money and might be interested in angel investing, that relationship might work out. But also people build work relationships through volunteer work, working on different causes together. Those types of, so I think networking, you get your network from working more than you get it from networking. And so I think everybody has a network, and what people don't realize is that network that each of their contacts has. So if you know 100 people well enough that they can introduce you to other people, each of them knows 100. That's 10,000 people. The chances so that network is 100 times as large as you thought it would be. So I think often there is a good chance that the right person is there, but you may not know it. And that's really one of the things we wanted to solve with LinkedIn, to make it easier. And we think by bringing economic opportunity to individuals, whether it's a job or getting investment or essentially makes economies more efficient, to match people with the right opportunities based on trusted introductions.
You know what? Generally speaking, superhero video games are really, really bad. Until there was one which came out a couple of years ago, which not only was a great superhero game, it was an awesome game. I'm talking about Batman Arkham Asylum. So guess what? The sequel, is it bigger? Is it badder than the first? Let's find out, because Avery's got himself a copy of Arkham City.
Are you gonna be a good boy and give up nicely? Bravo!
Hey, Avery Score here with the Gamer Station, and I'm excited because today I'm going to get to give you the skinny on Batman Arkham City. Now, Batman Arkham City is obviously the follow-up to Arkham Asylum, which came out 2 years ago and shocked the world by being a Batman game that was actually good. So Arkham City, obviously, really a lot of hype behind it, really some high standards going into my gameplay experience. Guess what? I was blown away again. Rocksteady really outdid themselves from the super high production values, really great visuals, excellent voice acting with a star-studded cast, including a standout performance by Mark Hamill, once again reprising his role potentially for the last time, can you believe it, as the Joker. And just solid gameplay from start to finish. Now, if you didn't play Arkham Asylum, that game really surprised, especially in terms of how it pushed boundaries of Batman's character. It created this crazy immersive universe in which traditional Batman morals were thrown out the window, and instead you incarnated this sort of crazed, psychopathic version of Batman who would probably like ask for your mother's number right in front of you because that's just how he rolls. So that kind of style of Batman is back, and you're going to be interacting with a familiar host of characters and villains in kind of unorthodox ways this time around. It's kind of the enemy of my enemy is my friend, these tenuous alliances. You're going to have to do some team-ups with Mr. Freeze. You're going to have to even be kind of teamed up with the Joker in a bizarre way with a crazy twist at the end that's going to leave your jaws agape. And this game is going to just take hold of you and never let go. It's one of those titles that's so good that I would just suggest that you stop watching right now and go ahead and get it. But if that's not enough to convince you, here are a few things that might. The gameplay is super solid in terms of the beat-em-up action. Basically, you've got an attack button, a counter button, kind of a stun button, and you've got some jumps and dodges. You can string these together in a variety of cool ways. And as you gain experience points for basically completing objectives, beating up baddies, completing secondary objectives on the map, which, by the way, you can do in a kind of a GTA-esque sandbox, free roam gaming style, you're going to be able to unlock new abilities which enrich further the gameplay. So there's a lot of replay value with this title simply by the fact that you can customize your Batman to your liking by pimping out his suit, pimping out his gadgets, and pimping out his arsenal and array of martial arts moves. The plot in this game is really a joy to behold, and the cutscenes are intermittent, but when they are there, they're done really well. It's not the kind of cutscene where you're like, you know, Final Fantasy style, sitting, waiting, waiting, Metal Gear Solid style, sitting, waiting, waiting, waiting. It's actually entertaining. It's done in the real-time engine, and it kind of works well with the gameplay rather than working against it. In addition to the beat-em-up action, you've got some stealth maneuvers here which you're going to have to employ, especially with armed enemies. So you're going to be spending a lot of time up in the rafters, jumping from gargoyle to gargoyle, as in the previous game, using your thermal goggles, otherwise known as detective vision, to plan, strategize, and plan your attacks. Otherwise, you're going to get chewed up by bullets relatively quickly and not get very far in the title. Additionally, speaking of detective vision, you spend quite a bit of time in this game sort of investigating clues, which give you, new areas of exploration, new ways to follow baddies, which you encounter in the game, and generally being a super cop and catching stuff that no ordinary police officer would ever notice. In addition to Batman, there's another playable character this time around, Catwoman, and she's looking great. Her assets are put in high relief by some of her acrobatic moves, and instead of detective vision, she's got thief vision, which gives you the skinny on objects that you might want to steal. So there's another huge potential for replay value there. So given the fact that this is a much bigger game than Arkham Asylum, which is already awesome, given the fact that every element of gameplay has been improved, you're probably going to want to run out right now and pick up this title. If I had one sole critique to make of this game, it's that combat can sometimes, despite the wealth of secondary moves, it can sometimes get a little monotonous if you want to cheese out and just kind of do counterattack after counterattack after counterattack. I call it Assassin's Creed syndrome. You can pretty much mash on the one key with perfect timing, and that's your win button. That said, though, that timing is really important. An interesting footnote on this game series, the original Arkham Asylum almost was a rhythm action game in the style of like Samba de Amigo or DDR. So those sort of fighting sequences would have literally been like rhythm action, like press buttons in time with the music type of deal. And you can really feel that at the core of the combat here, where there's really a rhythm to the battle. And if you ask any sort of martial artist, or especially like a martial arts film director, he'll talk to you about the rhythm of the battle as being really paramount to sort of the flow of the fight. And you really get a sense for that here, and it's something powerful, and it's something that becomes second nature. Essentially, I have not a lot bad to say about this game. It's probably, in fact, definitely going to be one of the best titles of the year. And if you're looking for something to pick up this month or next, grab this title, absolutely. It's well worth your money. Get 10 copies of it. It's a phenomenal, phenomenal game. Thanks.
You know what makes Batman really cool? Well, he's got a great mind, he's really fit, but gadgets. He needs his gadgets because he has no superpowers. So if you come across any Batman gadgets or any other cool gadgets, let us know. Facebook and Twitter, look up GN Gadget, as easy as that. My name is Adam Carruthers, and I shall see you same time, same place next week here on Gadget Nation.